We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Rana coming up in the next hour. Indian President Draupadi Murmu to attend Slovakia-India Business Forum aims to deepen cooperation and new initiatives. 2611 mastermind Tahawwur Rana extradited from US for his role in deadly Mumbai attack to reach national capital in a short while. Multi-agency team to interrogate him. Amid global pushback, US President Trump unveils 90-day pause on tariffs for most countries, hits China harder with 125%. Global markets make historic gains. Trump reiterates threat to use military force if Iran does not agree to nuclear deal, says Israel would play a key role. Dominican Republicans search for nightclub collapse survivors. Death toll neared 150 in the Caribbean nation's worst disaster in decades. President declares 3 days of national mourning. And on to the details now. President Draupadi Murmu is in Slovakia on a state visit. President Murmu and President Pellegrini will jointly inaugurate the India-Slovak Business Forum on Thursday and visit the Jaguar Land Rover Assembly plant in Nitra, marking a significant milestone in economic cooperation between the two countries. Well, early on the first day of a visit on Wednesday, President Murmu held talks with Slovak counterpart in Bratislava and held several important high-level meetings. Leaders reviewed various facets of India-Slovakia ties and witnessed the exchange of two MOUs. Slovakian President Peter Pellegrini announced the country's full support for India's bid to become a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, highlighting the long-standing and growing relationship between Slovakia and India. Also, President Murmu's visit is the first by an Indian head of state to Slovakia in nearly 30 years. It is expected to further strengthen the political and economic ties between the two nations. The visit underscores the growing partnership between India and Slovakia, with a focus on expanding trade, investment and cooperation in various sectors. And for more on the visit, we are joined by Ajay Joy, a correspondent from the capital city of Slovakia, Bratislava, to get us a better understanding on the outcomes of the first day. Well, Ajay, as India-Slovak relations are entering new heights, how can we assess the first day?
Yes, exactly. The first day of the tour was really a momentous one. We can say the interest of both the countries are aligned, and we have a better future of moving from a transaction mode towards much more collaborative mode, it must be said. If you look at the MOU signed yesterday, one significantly was on MSME cooperation, where both India and Slovakia are pinning their hope for further advancement. And as the day progresses, India and Slovak had more discussions on in the defense sector, in terms of the IT engagements, in terms of the technology collaborations. So everything seems very promising for next level of India-Slovak relations. If you look at the engagements yesterday, Indian President could meet with Slovak counterpart, and then she had a meeting with National Assembly, National Council Speaker, and then with Prime Minister himself. So all big level meetings happened yesterday, and we really hope for a great promising relation further also.
And as you said, Ajay, a second day will witness more business level meetings. What all programs are lined up today, and what all sectors we can focus to make India-Slovak relations to the next level?
Yes. Today it will be focusing more on the business side. India and Slovak business people will sit down for discussion to further map their development ahead in India-Slovak Business Forum, which will be opened jointly by Indian President and her Slovak counterpart. And thereafter, they will be moving together to the city of Nitra, where the university there will accord an honorary degree to Indian President, our Rashtrapati. Thereafter, both the presidents will be visiting the largest JLR factory, Jaguar Land Rover factory here in Slovakia, which is India's interest as well, because that's one of the largest investment by Tata Group in Slovakia, which produces almost 30 to 35% of their global business, in fact. So that's one significant part of that. And this visit will be concluded by both head of states by afternoon today. But main point we shall note will be their engagements in the industrial side, how much we can leverage the developments by the Slovakian industrial bodies, and how much we can market our fintech products, how much we can market our IT products. That will decide the next level of our relations.
All right, Ajay, thank you so much for all those details. And moving on, Tahawwur Rana, accused of masterminding the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks, has been extradited from the United States and is expected to arrive in India on Thursday, accompanied by a special team of intelligence and NRA officials. Well, the extradition comes after the U.S. Supreme Court recently rejected Tahawwur Rana's last appeal, essentially clearing the way for his handover to Indian authorities. Rana, a Pakistani origin Canadian businessman, is known to have been an active operative of the terror outfit Lashkar-e-Taiba and played a pivotal role in facilitating travel documents for David Coleman Headley. Tahawwur Rana and David Headley were detained by the FBI at the Chicago airport in October 2009. Home Minister Amit Shah has termed the extradition as a historic diplomatic success of Modi government. The Home Minister further said that the Modi government's unwavering commitment is to ensure that those who harm India's honour, territory and its citizens are brought to justice. He added that Rana will face trial and punishment here. So who is Tahawwur Rana? What is the case against him? Let's take a look.
Tahawwur Rana holds Canadian citizenship and has Pakistani origins. He faces charges in India for his involvement in the 2008 Mumbai attacks and was found guilty in the US for aiding Lashkar-e-Taiba. India is seeking his extradition for his role in the 26/11 attacks. Rana assisted David Headley, a co-conspirator in the attack, who held US citizenship and Pakistani heritage. Rana provided Headley with false credentials to help him scout targets for the attack. In January this year, the US Supreme Court rejected Tahawwur Rana's petition, and that was quickly followed up by Senator Rubio authorizing Rana's extradition in February. Later on, US President Donald Trump announced the extradition of Tahawwur Rana to India, adding that he would face justice. He made the announcement during a joint press conference with Prime Minister Narendra Modi following their bilateral meeting. Rana's defense filed for more documents on February 13. On February 19, the court denied his request to delay the extradition. Again, the Ninth Circuit rejected his appeal on February 21. Rana filed an emergency request with the US Supreme Court within a week, which was also rejected on March 5, 2025. And on April 7, the US Supreme Court again rejected his plea for a stay on his extradition to India.
A key review meeting on the implementation of 3 new criminal laws in Odisha, joined by Chief Minister Mohan Charan Maji and top officials. The discussion focused on reforms across policing, courts, prisons and forensics. Shah urged the Odisha government to ensure 100% implementation over the next 6 months, emphasizing the law's importance for the state's future industrial and technological growth. He also called for regular progress reviews at all administrative levels to stay on track with the rollout. And every year on April 10th, India joins the world in celebrating World Homeopathy Day, commemorating the birth anniversary of Dr. Samuel Hachman, the pioneer of homeopathy. This year, the celebration scales new heights at the Mahatma Mandir Convention and Exhibition Centre in Gandhinagar, Gujarat, with India's largest ever homeopathy symposium. Well, organized by CCRH, the National Commission for Homeopathy, and the National Institute of Homeopathy, the event will showcase cutting-edge research, vibrant discussions, and the country's biggest homeopathy industry exhibition. It's a celebration of innovation, collaboration, and India's growing leadership in the world of homeopathy. On this World Homeopathy Day, let's take a closer look at the journey of homeopathy in India. Well, homeopathy has quietly built one of the strongest healthcare support systems in India. Over 3.45 lakh registered homeopathic doctors are working across the country. India is also home to 77 homeopathy hospitals alongside 8,593 homeopathy dispensaries and 8,697 homeopathy beds in Ayush Wellness hospitals. There are 277 homeopathy colleges across India, including 197 undergraduate institutes, 3 stand-alone postgraduate colleges, and 77 combined UG and PG colleges. Also on the pharmaceutical front, 384 industries are involved in producing homeopathic medicines in India. With 35 dedicated research centers and OPDs under the Central Council for Research in Homeopathy, India is pushing the boundaries of what this ancient system can do in the modern world. And India, the land of diverse faiths and timeless traditions, is celebrating Mahavir Jayanti today, a day that marks the birth anniversary of Lord Mahavir, the 24th Tirthankara of Jainism. Our next report takes a closer look at the religious significance of this day and its relevance in today's world.
Mahavir Jayanti is one of the most auspicious festivals of the Jain community, commemorating the birth of Lord Mahavir, who was born in 599 BC in Kundagrama, present day in Bihar. A spiritual reformer and profound thinker, Lord Mahavir propagated the path of non-violence, truth, celibacy, non-possessiveness and non-stealing, the 5 cardinal principles of Jainism. On this day, devotees visit temples, offer prayers and participate in Rath Yatras, carrying the idol of Lord Mahavir, accompanied by devotional songs and sermons. Many engage in acts of charity and selfless service, reflecting the teachings of the Tirthankara, who renounced worldly pleasures in pursuit of spiritual liberation.
As a Jain myself, I think I've grown up with the tenets of non-violence, ahimsa paramo dharma, and vairagya, which is non-attachment to the physical things in life. And these are the lessons that Lord Mahavir Swami, he taught us through his life. We celebrate those tenets, and I think not just the Jain community, but the entire world needs to understand and follow the tenets of non-violence, because that is what we need, considering whatever is going on around the world.
Lord Mahavir's message of ahimsa or non-violence resonates beyond religious boundaries and continues to inspire peace movements globally. In an era of growing unrest, his teachings offer a beacon of hope and ethical living. As India celebrates Mahavir Jayanti, the message of compassion and non-violence finds renewed relevance in today's world, a timeless tribute to a path of peace and purity. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
And President also extends greetings on Mahavir Jayanti. In a message on X, she wrote, and I quote, "On the auspicious occasion of Mahavir Jayanti, and extend my greetings and best wishes to all fellow citizens, especially the Jain brothers and sisters. Bhagwan Mahavir, the embodiment of non-violence and compassion, showed a new path to humanity through the message of ahimsa paramo dharma, which means non-violence is the supreme religion. Mahavir Jayanti gives us the message to follow the path of spirituality and adopt the values of simplicity, kindness and detachment from material possessions and desires. Let us imbibe the teachings of Bhagwan Mahavir in our lives and promote peace, non-violence and harmony in the society." Unquote. And still to come in DD India News Hour. US House of Republicans push for $5 trillion tax cuts amidst internal divisions over spending cuts. Next round of Ukraine-US talks on minerals deal next week. South Sudan's main opposition party appoints new leadership amid Machar detention. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Now. Lipakshi Khurana. And moving on, in a dramatic change of policy, US President Donald Trump announced a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs for all but China. Just hours after levies against roughly 60 of America's trading partners kicked in, Trump said he was authorizing a universal lowered reciprocal tariff of 10% as negotiations continued. At the same time, he increased tariffs on goods from China to 125%, accusing Beijing of a lack of respect after it retaliated by saying it would impose tariffs of 84% on US imports. This comes a week after Trump announced import taxes on all goods entering the US in the biggest upheaval of international trade in decades. His plan sets a baseline tariff of 10% on all imports, which remains in place, but also high rates on partners the White House described as the worst offenders. This included the 27 European Union, Vietnam, South Africa, and many more, all of which were due to be on the receiving end of US tariffs ranging from 11% to more than 100%.
No, we can't imagine. I don't think I'll have to do it. I don't think we'll have to do it more. We calculated it very carefully. By the way, when you hear 100, a lot of people charge much more than that. Canada charges much more than that to our farmers, our dairy farmers. Many people charge much more than 100 or 125 in this case. But I don't. It's still a significant number. I don't see that.
Well, after the US raised tariffs on China to 104%, Beijing retaliated, announcing that it will impose a levy of 84% on US imports, up from 34%. China's finance ministry has announced an 84% tariff on goods imported from the US, retaliating against recent levies imposed by the White House. The hike in tariffs came after Trump's 104% tariff on Chinese goods came into force on Wednesday. They were later increased to 125%. China's Commerce Ministry slapped restrictions on more than a dozen US defense firms on Wednesday. Beijing added 12 US companies to a control list that prohibits exports of dual-use items and another 6 to its unreliable entities list. Well, Beijing, which has said its charges would take effect from Thursday, urged other countries to unite against Trump's tariffs as the country's exporters reel from the crippling new levies. Well, as Trump announced a pause on reciprocal tariff for almost all its global trading partners for 90 days, the international reactions have started coming in. South Korea's acting president, Han Duck-soo, said on Thursday that the government would seek to advance negotiations with the US over tariffs in a bid to shake off the burden. The incoming German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, said that a united European approach to trade had a positive impact and that Europeans are determined to defend ourselves, and this example shows that unity helps most of all. Italy welcomed the decision by Trump to pause the tariffs for 90 days and said the group of 7 countries spoke about trying to calm the situation. Interim leader of Bangladesh, Yunus, thanked Trump to pause the tariffs as Trump had imposed 37% levies on Bangladesh. Also, the European Union has also announced the approval of tariffs to hit around $23.2 billion of U.S. goods in response to the 25% duties on its steel and aluminium exports. The United States and Vietnam have agreed to launch trade talks between each other. The Vietnamese government said that U.S. and Vietnam will work to remove as many non-tariff barriers as possible. Also, the global stocks rebounded strongly after U.S. President Donald Trump's stunning reversal on sweeping reciprocal tariffs. Within moments of Trump's social media announcement, the Dow index surged ahead over 2,500 points along the way to a nearly 8% gain on the session. The tech-rich Nasdaq won 12.2% to notch its best day in 24 years, while the S&P 500 soared 9.5% for its biggest daily gain since 2008. Asian markets also opened with strong gains on Thursday following Wall Street's biggest one-day rally in years. In Japan, the Nikkei was up by 7.2%, while in Seoul, the Kospi was up over 5%. In Australia, the ASX 200 jumped more than 6% at the open. This would make its biggest gain since March 2020. And for more on the tariffs, we have Akshay Dongre joining us. Well, Akshay, Trump announces 90-day pause on the tariffs and sets a baseline tariff of 10% on all imports. But on the other hand, with the US and China both escalating tariffs on each other's goods, what are the potential chances of now the trade going to?
Well, Lipakshi, it's a good news for global trade that Donald Trump has finally announced the reversal of these tariffs that he had announced on the so-called Liberation Day. But this is just a 90-day pause. It's not a reversal in toto, but this is giving a time to the countries that are willing to negotiate to come to come and speak to the U.S. leadership and in fact negotiate a deal as to how and how much they can impose tariffs or reduce tariffs as far as the U.S. goods are concerned, or the goods that are going into the U.S., which means that there will now be certain rules that will be rules-based order that will be imposed between the countries and the U.S. as far as trade is concerned. And while all of this is happening, the trade war with China that escalated after China put retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. goods continues. However, that's not a good news for the global trade, and specifically because the world's number one and number two economies fighting can never be good for the global financial systems. However, if you have to look at it from another perspective, it's also important to see that currently all of the countries who are in fact going to file a deal with the United States can now never be sure of the next move that is going to come, because everything that has happened in the past 1 week has been quite abrupt. First of all, a massive implementation of tariffs on the countries, then the kind of language that Donald Trump has used, even for the global leaders who have been trying for a deal with the U.S. has been quite immature, has been quite unprofessional as well, and to be honest, it has been quite crass too. But as far as the position is concerned, the President of the United States has given a hold, but the kind of actions that he has taken have put a forever question mark on the U.S.'s role as far as the global market is concerned, which can be relied upon. And that is what China is also trying to propagate through its own propaganda, that U.S. is not anymore a country that can be relied upon. And it has been trying for a very long time to take its place, but these measures will now intensify with this trade war.
All right, Akshay. Also, given the dramatic swings in the global markets right now following President Trump's tariff policy reversal, how sustainable do you think this level of volatility is, especially in the context of a potential full-blown trade war, as you also mentioned?
Well, not at all, Lipakshi, because we are seeing the market fluctuating quite a bit, and it's all depending on the whims and fancies of global leaders, especially Donald Trump. One day, the man who is heading a country, the world's largest economy, such as US, decides or announces tariffs. Then next day, he calls for countries not to retaliate, especially through social media, not, and then again the countries that retaliate, he puts additional tariffs. Or it's sort of a bullying in a financial sense and in trade sense that was happening for the past few days. However, that's how global trade in today's world now works, it seems. So that's what is happening. But the kind of volatility that has been seen, or non-continuity that has been seen in the decisions of Donald Trump will also reflect on the global markets.
All right. Thank you so much, Akshay, for all those details and insights. And moving on, U.S. House of Representatives aim to move forward on Wednesday on a measure that would extend President Donald Trump's 2017 tax cuts, as a handful of hardline Republicans threaten to block a bill they say does not contain enough spending cuts. Well, members of Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson's caucus pushed for about $2 trillion in spending cuts over 10 years, far more than was mandated in the budget passed by the Republican-controlled Senate earlier on Saturday. The proposed spending cuts would be coupled with around $5 trillion in tax cuts. The House could vote on it as soon as Wednesday. At least 4 House Republicans, Chip Roy of Texas, Ralph Norman of South Carolina, Lloyd Smucker of Pennsylvania, and Keith Self of Texas said they plan to oppose the bill. With all 213 House Democrats expected to vote against the budget plan, Johnson can afford to lose only 3 of his 220 Republicans if all members vote. And rescue workers in the Dominican Republic ended the search for survivors of a nightclub roof collapse as the death toll neared 150 in the Caribbean nation's worst disaster in decades. The death toll in the Caribbean nation's worst disaster in decades stood at 124 before emergency personnel announced they had found 20 more bodies on Wednesday afternoon. Over 300 rescue workers, aided by sniffer dogs, had spent 2 days combing through mounds of fallen bricks, steel bars and tin sheets, supported by firefighters from Puerto Rico and Israel. Over 500 people were also injured when the roof caved in while renowned merengue singer Rabbi Perez was performing for a crowd of hundreds. Perez and 2 former Major League Baseball players were among the dead. Meanwhile, Dominican Republic President declared 3 days of national mourning following the tragic incident. The baseball world mourned the death of the former players Octavio Dotel and Tony Blanco. Tributes were also poured in from across Latin America to the renowned merengue singer Perez. And the next round of Ukraine-US talks over minerals deal may take place next week. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Wednesday that the talks would focus on technical aspects and foundations of future agreement. Zelensky told reporters that the minerals deal with the US should be profitable for both sides and could be structured in a way that would help modernize Ukraine. He informed that the Ukraine's delegation would be headed by Deputy Economy Minister. Meanwhile, Zelensky said that Ukrainian intelligence had information about 155 Chinese citizens fighting for the Russian military against Ukraine. He spoke to reporters after the capture of 2 Chinese nationals in eastern Ukraine, where Russian troops have been advancing. He said he hoped the United States would speak to Moscow about the battlefield deployment of Chinese citizens. For now, the president said that Ukraine was trying to assess whether the recruits were receiving instructions from Beijing. On Wednesday, China's foreign ministry dismissed Zelensky's remarks as groundless. It said Ukraine should correctly view China's efforts and constructive role in seeking a political solution to the Ukrainian crisis. And the South Sudan main opposition party, Sudan People's Liberation Movement, an opposition on Wednesday appointed an interim chair as the party's first vice president, Riek Machar, remains under house arrest. Machar was placed under house arrest by President Salva Kiir Mayardit last month. The opposition's National Liberation Council nominated and approved Stephen Parkour, Minister of Peace Building in the Transitional Unity Government, as the interim chair until Machar is released. Post-appointment, Kohl reaffirmed the party's unwavering commitment to the implementation of the 2018 peace agreement, both in letter and in spirit. And still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll get you details from our reporters in Mumbai and Delhi as Tahawwur Rana's arrival is expected soon. India signals tough stance on connectivity and water sharing, withdraws transshipment facility to Bangladesh. An opposition leader, Lee Jae-myung, announces bid for South Korea's June 3rd presidential election amidst political turmoil. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Rana. And moving on, Tahawwur Rana, accused of masterminding the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks, has been extradited from the United States and is expected to arrive in India today, accompanied by a special team of intelligence and NIA officials. The extradition comes after the U.S. Supreme Court recently rejected Tahawwur Rana's last appeal, essentially clearing the way for his handover to Indian authorities. Rana, a Pakistani-origin Canadian businessman, is known to have been an active operative of the terror outfit Lashkar-e-Taiba and played a pivotal role in facilitating travel documents for David Coleman Headley. Tahawwur Rana and David Headley were detained by the FBI at the Chicago airport in October 2009. And we have our correspondent Vishal Baristo joining us from the airport, and we have Shishir Chellas also joining us from Mumbai on this case. Well, Vishal, my first question to you, Tahawwur Rana being extradited to India, a big win for the country. How significant is Tahawwur Rana's extradition for India's efforts to bring justice to the victims of the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks, and what does this mean for international cooperation on counter-terrorism?
Well, absolutely. A very good morning to you, Lepakshi. I'm here at Palam Technical, and we are expecting the much-awaited terrorists along with the NIA team to reach here at Delhi by 1 p.m. This is our expectation according to the flight schedule. Now, 6 personnel from the NIA, National Investigating Agency, would be accompanying him, and this is a huge development and also a big success for the Indian investigating agencies, because he was wanted for a very long time, and India has finally succeeded in his extradition, and today he would be handed over to the NIA court, where he would be further investigated and interrogated. So it's a big development, and we are all here waiting for the flight to reach here. The flight that started from Los Angeles had a stopover of 2 hours in Dubai, and it would be landing today in Delhi. He was wanted for a very long time, since 2009, and we know how he, along with his superiors in Pakistan, we all know that he is a Pakistani army officer. They had all plotted against India, and it would be the opportunity for India to once again tell the world and establish that Pakistan is the epicenter of state-sponsored terrorism against India. Dipakshi?
Absolutely, Vishal. Also, my next question to you, Shishir, given the high-profile nature of the 2008 Mumbai attacks and Rana's alleged involvement in it, what can be expected next now?
Well, absolutely, Pakshi. It's a pursuit of justice for India since last 17 years. The 26/11 attack happened at the same place behind me. You can see the Taj Hotel. We do not want to recall those horrific incidents, but we want to make sure that people should understand that why this incident is quite important. This is a cross-border terrorism activities that we have seen in 2011 attack, but now we have seen the cross-border legal action that India is taking, and that's the reason it's steadfast India's kind of work that India is doing, the legal and as well as diplomatic battle that India is finally winning when Tahawwur Rana will be extradited to India. Now, of course, we need to understand that this is not quite an easy task for India, to bring Tahawwur Rana to India, bring back India, and to obviously to go through all the procedural and legal, that we have seen here. Due course of action will take place. But we need to understand that two important aspects. First, as you told about the legal action that India has taken. Since 2020, India was quite voice-first about this, and that's the reason we have sent all the legal documents to the US courts here, along with that, all the necessary documents required that how Tahawwur Rana is involved in 26/11 attack. And that's the reason the US court has finally agreed on it. The second important aspect is, of course, the diplomatic pressure that India has built on the US. It's not just a day or two effort that India is doing it. Since last few many years, we have seen that, especially when the current government resumed its work in 2014, and we have seen here that the Prime Minister on various stages, be it a bilateral forum or it's a multilateral forum, India has talked about the cross-border terrorism, how India is affected because of terrorism. It's not just that. India has given many important information, data also regarding this to other countries as well. As far as Pakistan is concerned, India has sent the dossier along with all the important input that India has got, but still the Pakistan failed to act on it. Tahawwur Rana, again, one of the important key conspirator in it. He was in US jail here. India actually again get in touch with the US authorities, with the US court also. India won the legal battle on the US soil and in the US court as well, and that's the reason we have seen here that 17 years, though it's a long period, but finally we can say that India has actually seen a winning moment here. But those act of terrorism that we have seen in 26/11, this is a befitting reply that probably India is going to deliver.
All right. All right, Shishir. Also, as Vishal had earlier mentioned that Rana is expected around 1 p.m. today. What are the next steps for the Indian authorities, and how significant is this case in terms of the counter-terrorism efforts being taken internationally?
Well, absolutely. Now, Rana will be bring back to India, but the important aspect and important questions that need to be answered here. Indian authorities have already made allegations that Rana is a key conspirator, and how Rana has actually given support to all those terrorism, all the terrorists who came to India, along with that David Coleman Headley, also one of the key conspirator. So obviously, Indian agencies will try to get all those information that how this entire attack has been executed here, who are involved actually in this entire attack here. As far as the LAT connection and the ISI connection of Tahawwur Rana will definitely be exposed here. Apart from that, the sleeper cells information and the people who are involved in it, the Indian agency will try to get even those information also from Tahawwur Rana. So obviously he's a key conspirator. We have seen here that the 10 terrorists came here and they've actually seen the, carried out the attack here. The India have neutralized them. But the important aspect that those persons who are behind this attack needs to bring to the justice, and Tahawwur Rana play an important role here. And that's the reason the involvement of other officials also of the ISI along with the LAT terrorists also will be exposed here. At the same time, we'll also get important information that how these cross-border terrorism activities happening in India, what is their model of operation, their modus operandi. So these all information probably we may get from Tahawwur Rana, which will be helpful for the Indian intelligence agency as well.
All right, Shishir. Thank you so much for all those details. And moving on, controversy is reshaping Canada's election landscape as political parties swiftly remove candidates over inflammatory remarks and problematic histories. With recent incidents spotlighting sensitive issues, particularly involving Canada's influential Indian diaspora, voters are left questioning party vetting processes and representation. Here's more on the growing fallout.
In Canada, a wave of campaign controversies has forced major parties to drop several candidates in recent weeks. In the past week alone, at least 7 candidates have let go by Liberals and Conservatives over offensive remarks or past conduct. These incidents span anti-immigrant rhetoric, extremist sympathies, and inflammatory social media posts, shaking an election landscape increasingly sensitive to diverse and diaspora politics. One high-profile ouster came in the Conservative camp. Don Patel, a Toronto area Conservative candidate, was dropped after he endorsed a social media post. The post was widely interpreted. Patel was actually 4th candidate ousted in just 2 days. Earlier in Ontario, candidate Mark McKenzie was forced out after a podcast surfaced of him, joking that former Liberal Prime Minister Justin Trudeau should face a public hanging. In Quebec, another Conservative hopeful was dropped for deriding a massive shooting survivor, pushing for gun control as playing the victim game online. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre defended the house cleaning, saying his vetting process is stronger than all other parties and that there is zero tolerance for anyone who acts unacceptably. It's not only the Conservative facing such turmoil, the governing Liberal Party has also had to distance itself from candidates. In Markham, Ontario, Liberal MP Paul Chiang resigned as a candidate after comments he made in January came to light in which he suggested handing a Conservative rival over to Chinese official in exchange for bounty. Liberal leader Mark Carney condemned the remark as deeply offensive. Meanwhile, in Ottawa, the 3-term Liberal MP Chandra Arya was abruptly barred from running for re-election in his riding. According to intelligence officials had raised concern over Arya alleged close ties to Indian government. Liberal Party has not publicly detailed its reasons, citing only new information, but Arya himself insists he was removed because of his outspoken stance against the Sikh Khalistan separatist movement in Canada. Notably, the third major party, the New Democrats, say they haven't had to drop any of their candidates so far. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh said if issue do arise, the party will make the best decision for Canada and democracy. As the campaign continues towards the April 28th election, both Liberal and Conservatives are hoping their quick action will reassure voters that they won't tolerate bigotry or extremism in their ranks. Whether these removals ease the concern of diaspora communities or deepen their anxieties remain to be seen. From Canada, this is Tarun Paul Singh.
And updates from South Korea now, where opposition leader Lee Jae-myung on Thursday declared his bid for the June 3rd presidential election. Lee Jae-myung is the front-runner in opinion polls to be the country's next leader. The elections will be held after former President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment stemming from a December martial law declaration was upheld on April. Lee lost by the slimmest margin in the country's history when he ran against Yoon in the 2022 presidential election. But last year, he led his Liberal Democratic Party to a landslide victory in a parliamentary election and enjoys strong support from Liberal voters. And India has withdrawn the transshipment facility extended to Bangladesh effective on April 8, 2025. Bangladesh can no longer send shipments to third countries using Indian ports and airports. However, an exception has been made for Nepal and Bhutan. The facility, which was granted in 2020, was aimed at improving regional connectivity. But over time, it led to a significant congestion at Indian ports and airports. MEA spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal in a press briefing said that logistical delays and rising costs were affecting India's own exports and creating backlogs. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. As global cocoa prices hit record highs, cocoa farmers and exporters in Nigeria are grappling with a surge in insecurity that threatens to derail one of the country's most valuable agricultural exports. In the cocoa-rich states of Ondo, Osun and Ekiti, reports of armed robbery, crop theft and abductions have escalated in recent months. The situation is adding pressure to an already stressed industry, with fears that the insecurity could deter investment and reduce output in the coming season. Walt comes full circle with Disney 100 exhibition in French capital held at the Porte de Versailles Exhibition Centre in Paris. The show traces Disney's evolution from its humble beginnings to its global cultural impact with immersive displays. The exhibition also delves into the creative processes behind beloved characters and films, offering fans of all ages a chance to step into the world of animation, innovation and imagination that has defined Disney for generations. An exhibition celebrating diamond jewellery made by the prestigious luxury goods company Cartier is about to open at London's V&A Museum. Established by Louis Francois Cartier in Paris in 1847, the family-run business went on to become a household name popular with royalty and stars alike. Visitors can expect to see legendary items once worn by royals, offering a glimpse into the glamour and heritage that have defined the Cartier name. In the heart of Seoul, K-pop enthusiasts are getting a chance to step into the spotlight at a new K-pop experience center designed to let fans live out their idol dreams. From recording their own music videos to learning choreography and performing on replica stages, the center offers an immersive journey through the glamorous world of Korean pop culture. The attraction also showcases the global reach of K-pop, drawing tourists from around the world. And still to come, DD India News Hour. Singapore's food scene struggles as rising cost and fewer patrons will lead to wave of restaurant closures. And top seed Yannick Sinner to return in the ATP Tour from his doping ban at next month's Rome Masters as world #1. And herd of animal puppets on a journey to create climate awareness.
Geopolitics and trade deals, economic challenges amid development, hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Nipakshi Kurana, and on to some business news. Singapore's well-known food scene has been battered by closures in the past year, affecting low-cost hawker stalls, mid-sized operators and Michelin star restaurants who say costs are rising and consumers are spending less. Operators have been hit by rising costs for goods, utilities, rent and salaries. They have fewer patrons, and those who do dine and wine are spending less than during the 2022 euphoria of opening up following the COVID-19 pandemic. The ratio of the closures to openings in 2025 and 2024 was higher than before and during the pandemic, pointing to a shrinking sector. Closures since last year have affected a range of establishments, from low-cost hawker stalls to rooftop bars, smoke and mirrors, and a string of Michelin-starred restaurants such as R.D. Daniels, Perindeo and Soma and Presi. The concern is that closures will lead to a loss of the island's culinary heritage and its status as an Asian food capital. Well, in Argentina, thousands of retirees and union members gathered in Buenos Aires on Wednesday to protest President Javier Milei's austerity measures. The demonstration, supported by Argentina's largest union, served as a precursor to a 24-hour strike affecting various sectors. Retirees voiced their frustrations over losing purchasing power and essential medications. Milei's fiscal policies have disproportionately targeted retirees, cutting their incomes and benefits. Despite Milei's success in reducing inflation, critics argue that his approach has exacerbated social inequality and hardship. While you're watching DD India News, time now for some sports news. Yannick Sinner will return to the ATP Tour from his doping ban at next month's Rome Masters as world number 1 after his closest challenger, Alexander Zverev, crashed to an early defeat in Monte Carlo. Also, 23-year-old Sinner accepted a 3-month ban in February following an agreement with the World Anti-Doping Agency after he failed 2 drug tests. Sinner's absence from the circuit had opened the door for world number 2, Zverev, to replace him at the top of the rankings, but the German failed to get beyond the quarter-final stage at any of the 6 tournaments he has placed since the Australian Open in January. And Gujarat Titans continued their winning streak in IPL 2025 with a 58-run win over Rajasthan Royals in Ahmedabad on Wednesday night. Getting an invitation to bat first, Gujarat posted 217 for 6 in their given overs, thanks to Sai Sudarshan's 82 off 53 balls. Jos Butler and Shahrukh Khan, 2 scored crucial 36 each. Mahesh Theekshana and Tushar Deshpande picked 2 wickets apiece, but both of them also gave away over 50 runs in their respective spells. Jofra Archer, on the other hand, was really impressive with figures of 1 for 30 in 4 overs. Meanwhile, during the chase, Rajasthan got off to a poor start, but Sanju Samson's 41 off 28 kept them going. Shimron Hetmyer scored 52 off 32 towards the end, but failed to get any support from the other end. This happened to be Gujarat's 4th win on the trot, while Rajasthan's 2-match winning run ended with a defeat. Well, the World Boxing has set up an interim committee to oversee the affairs of the Boxing Federation of India. President of the Boxing Federation of India, Ajay Singh, will head the committee along with other members, while the Indian Olympic Association will nominate 1 member. The interim committee has been tasked to ensure administrative continuity, managing domestic and international competitions, and safeguarding the interest of Indian boxers. It will also coordinate with relevant stakeholders and oversee financial matters. The committee is required to submit its first report within 30 days. And unseeded Alejandro Tabilo defeated twice champion Novak Djokovic 6-3, 6-4 in the second round of the Monte Carlo Masters on Wednesday. The win maintains a remarkable 100% win record over the 24-time major winner. Djokovic, who suffered a shock defeat in the Miami Open final last month, had received a bite into the last 32 but came up short against Tabilo. Tabilo has yet to drop a set against Djokovic as the 27-year-old registered back-to-back wins over the Serbian on clay. Djokovic was chasing his 100th tour-level title, while winning the Monte Carlo title would have made the 37-year-old the only player to win each Masters event at least 3 times. And the International Olympic Committee announced on Wednesday that compound archery will be making its debut at the Los Angeles Olympics in 2028. The compound mixed team competition joins the 5 existing recurve events, bringing the total number of archery medals available to 6. In the first time since archery's reintroduction to the Olympic Games in 1972 that a new bow style has been added to the competition. World Archery President Professor Dr. Ugair Adener also said that it is a monumental step forward for the sports and for the millions of compound archers worldwide who have long sought Olympic recognition. And the Herds, an international public art and climate action project, is taking life-size animal puppets on a journey to major cities in Africa and Europe to symbolize the animal kingdom's flight from climate disaster. Begins in DR Congo's capital, Kinshasa. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available in both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Rana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.